Good afternoon, faculty members. My topic of FDP presentation is contextualized learning. Now, first of all, why do we need to use or implement these new educational strategies? First and foremost, the adoption of NEP 2020 and outcome-based education. Secondly, to develop students in competencies that are essential to succeed in the current dynamic technological and business environment. Now, more than ever, companies are focusing on emotional quotient, social quotient, and adaptability quotient of employees and potential employees more than or rather more than I should say, they are giving as much importance to emotional and social skills of employees as much as their technological or technical skills. Now, it is our responsibility to develop our students in an all encompassing way. So, we should be developing students in emotional and social competencies along with the technological skills. And that's the reason we are going to implement these new pedagogical strategies while teaching. Now, we are, as all of us know, we are going to learn many new pedagogies in the coming 2 weeks. So, one such pedagogy is contextualized learning, which we are going to discuss today. Now, what is contextualized learning? In very simple terms, contextualized learning is an approach that states that student, when they learn a certain concept in the classroom, they relate more with that concept or they understand the concept better if they are able to relate that classroom learning to their real life, to their past experiences, to what they already know, or to their future goals. In short, students are able to understand a subject better if they are able to find its importance in their real life. Now, let us discuss some related concepts. Now, as we already discussed or studied in Professor S.S. Dixit's session about the learning domains as proposed by Bloom, which are called as Bloom's domains of learning, which are cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. Now, these new pedagogies, these new strategies help us to develop competencies in students related to affective domain and psychomotor domain also. Now, what is affective domain? Affective domain in simple terms, meaning competencies related to emotional skills of students. Now, in traditional approaches of learning, we were focused more on cognitive domain and that too on the level one, as all of us know, level one of Bloom's taxonomy, remembering and understanding. So, traditional ways of learning focused more on cognitive domain, whereas now we need to focus equally on affective domain and psychomotor domain of learning also. Now, another related concept is emotional intelligence. Now, the diagram that I have shown in this slide is Daniel Goleman's components of emotional intelligence. Now, Daniel Goleman was the proponent of the theory of emotional intelligence, in which he says that the emotional intelligence has 5 components, which are empathy, social skills, self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. Now, as we proceed through the slides, we will see that the competencies that students are gaining via these new pedagogies are related to all these concepts, which are empathy, social skills, motivation, self-awareness, etc. And as and when these terminologies are mentioned, when we develop students in empathy or social skills or motivation, we automatically develop a student in emotional intelligence also, and that's the reason we are focusing on these new pedagogies. One such pedagogy is contextualized learning. Now, as we already discussed, contextualized learning is a method which is based on the theories of constructivism, active learning, and experiential learning. Now, we are going to learn these theories in more detail when our FDP proceeds with the further sessions. But let us see in very brief the meanings of these theories. Now, constructivism is a theory of learning which posits that students construct knowledge and meaning out of classroom learning based on what their past experiences, their interactions with the environment, also their future goals, and also their pre existing knowledge. And this makes this theory a very student centric approach. As all of us know, we are following student centric approach in NEP 2020. Experiential learning is, in very simple terms, learning by doing. And active learning is an approach where students learn by actively participating in collaborative activities such as group discussions, problem solving, debates, group work, group assignments, presentations, business plan competitions, etc., rather than passively receiving information through lectures. Now, let us see some more details of contextualized learning. So, contextualized learning, because this method will help us to teach students to relate theoretical concepts to real life. Also, we are going to assess on how well students are able to relate or apply their theoretical knowledge to real life and real world situations. It makes this theory more meaningful and practical and not theoretical and abstract. Students are also able to connect learning, classroom learning, with their future goals. Now, when many a times we come across students who say that, sir, when are we going to use maths in our real life? Or when are we going to use integration in our real life? Or engineering graphics in our real life? Why are we studying these subjects? Now, more recently, students would be asking these questions about entrepreneurship management and project management and Indian knowledge system and universal human values. Why are we studying these subjects? Now, it becomes the teacher's job. The teacher's role assumes importance here in answering and explaining to the students why studying these subjects is important and how these subjects are related to real life and how these students are used in real world applications. And that's when if the students understand the relevance of these subjects in their real lives, they will be able to take more interest in these subjects and get motivated to study these subjects. Now, the teacher's role will assume importance here. And secondly, contextualized learning and all the new pedagogies, rather, it helps students to link classroom content to their interests, prior knowledge, daily lives, and move beyond rote memorization. Now, again, the teacher has to develop interest in students here by designing the classroom delivery or the session delivery, lesson delivery content in such a way that student will be able to relate what they are learning in that particular topic to what they already know. Now, how can the teacher do this? Perhaps by taking a short, quick revision of what the students learned in the previous semester or previous year. This approach also encourages students to make connection between knowledge and its application in everyday life, and therefore is the right theory that can be used to help develop practical competence. Now, to implement this concept in the classroom, teachers can use strategies such as using case studies, simulations, problems based learning, industrial visits, expert sessions, etc., that will help students to connect theoretical knowledge with real life. Now, how can the teacher implement this concept of contextualized learning in classroom? By adopting what is called as contextualized teaching and learning approach, or CTL. Now, how can the teacher do this? Teacher can design the session delivery in such a way that it will connect that particular topic to the students' prior knowledge, as we already discussed, which will create a foundation for new learning for the students. Teacher can also implement this approach by using real world examples. Now, in our college, we see that we have many students from rural background also. In such a case, teachers, educators will have to use examples that are more relevant to students, that these students will understand the examples that come from the background of these students, the experiences that they have taken. Whereas if we have students from, suppose, Northeast India, Northern India, will have to use examples that will be more relevant to this cohort of students. Now, the teacher will have to put in a more hard work here, but once the teacher gets used to having students, used to giving different examples to students, the process will become easier. Now, teachers should also encourage problem solving in the students, problem solving by the students in the classroom, wherein when students are given a complex real world problem to solve using the knowledge and skills they have acquired in the classroom, perhaps by discussing a case study or learning a newspaper, reading out a newspaper article in the classroom, which relates to the topic that they are currently learning. Now, conduct authentic assessments. Now, when we use these new pedagogies, including contextualized learning, the assessment is based on how well students are able to apply the theoretical knowledge they are getting in the classroom to real world situations, and such as maybe presentations, projects, building models, etc. And hence the assessment becomes authentic rather than just based on rote memorization and pen and paper tests. Embrace interdisciplinary learning. Now, as we discussed already, uh, we can use the context of different subjects to explain a particular topic. Meaning, we are learning project management, we are learning entrepreneurship management. We can explain to students how a situation, how the implications, financial implications, implications related to human resource, implications related to human values, implications related to uh, politics on a particular subject, and thus giving more holistic view of a particular topic to the student. Now, thus, when we use all these, we give a concrete context to a student, which makes learning more engaging, deepens understanding, and improves the ability to apply knowledge in practical, new and diverse practical applications. Now, what are some of the implementation strategies for students? Case studies. Now, perhaps we could discuss a case study in the classroom, which will give in-depth understanding of complex real-world situations to the students. It will foster critical thinking, problem solving. Students will learn to connect theoretical concepts with real-world situations. When we discuss a case, now again, I would like to say that educators, you assume a role of importance here. As in, for example, when we are discussing a case study, it becomes a teacher's job to explain to the students how to read a case study, how to find the potential problems in that particular situation, how to come up with multiple solutions for the problem that exists in that case study, how to find out the best solution in that particular situation. So students get to learn, find out different perspectives about a single situation also. So all these skills will help students develop their social skills, empathy, motivation, etc. Thus adding to the effective learning component. Now, project-based learning. Now, project-based learning develops critical thinking, problem solving. Group projects will also improve collaboration skills of students. They will know how to assert their views. They will know how to negotiate with their friends effectively. It also improves knowledge retention because students are applying their knowledge in real situations. Simulation and role playing. It boosts social skills, empathy, self confidence of students. It also fosters creativity and problem solving skills. Simulated situations build both academic and life skills. Now, one example I would like to give of simulated situation or role playing is that Suppose a company wants to set up a manufacturing unit in Maharashtra or in Gujarat. So they have two options, whether to set up in Maharashtra or to Gujarat. Now, this is only meant for classroom students and classroom discussions. So this is a very simple form. So, teachers or educators can carry out an exercise in the classroom wherein they will make one team of delegates from the company, one team of delegates from Maharashtra government, and one team of delegates from Gujarat government. Now, these three groups together will the teams from the two states will negotiate with the company delegates, wherein they will offer incentives to the company or give facilities to the company uh, so that the company makes a profitable decision. Now, students will learn how what incentives are given by states to the companies for setting off of plants, what facilities are needed, what utilities rather are needed by the manufacturing units to set up their plants in the particular states, and various other things. So, students will learn through role playing, students learn negotiation skills. Perhaps students will find out about their leadership skills, leadership styles, etc. Now, next is collaborative learning. Collaborative learning helps students improve communication, interpersonal abilities, negotiation, exposure to diverse perspectives, teamworks. They will learn how to work with others. Service learning combines community service with academic learning. Example, organizing a recycle drive wherein students learn the practical application of the theoretical knowledge they get inside a classroom. Now, these were some of the strategies that can be used, methods that can be used by faculty members, educators in the classroom to implement contextualized learning pedagogy. Now, let us move to the principles of contextualized learning. Now, what are the principles that contextualized learning is based on? As we already discussed, first is constructivism. Learners build new knowledge upon their existing understanding and experiences. Inquiry based learning, students investigate real world problems, trying to find answers to the questions and problems. Questioning will foster critical thinking, deeper understanding of the subject matter. Students will also build their own learning community wherein they will learn by collaborating with their peers. Modeling, as we already discussed, teachers assume a great role of importance here. Now, I would like to add that as we learned the concept of scaffolding in one of the previous sessions by Professor Gangane, I think scaffolding assumes a great importance in the implementation of methods of contextualized learning and all other pedagogies, because students need to be supported, to be guided by teachers at every stage of adoption of implementation of these strategies. Teachers, educators will have to be the role model for students. Reflection, again, teachers will have to help and guide students in reflecting upon their learning processes, whether their learning processes are correct, whether they are effective, whether they are learning correctly. If there are any flaws, teachers can help guide the students in correcting the flaws in their learning processes. And authentic assessment is the last principle, as we have already discussed. We assess the student on their ability to apply knowledge and skills to real world tasks rather than rote memorization. Hence, the assessment becomes authentic. Now, when all of us studied in a school and college, the faculty members, we were not exposed to CTL and these new pedagogies or outcome based education. All of us went through the traditional methods of learning, and I'm sure educators will be able to identify more with the right side of this difference between CTL and traditional learning. Let us see what are the differences. Now, when we use CTL, students engage actively in learning process, whereas in traditional setups, we were more of passive recipients of instructions in the classroom. In CTL, students learn through collaboration, brainstorming, questioning, discussions, projects, whereas in traditional learning, we focused more on textbook reading and rote memorization. CTL learning is linked to real world situations and problems, whereas in traditional setups, learning was theoretical and abstract. Behavior of student built on self awareness and hence very closely related to emotional intelligence. Here, in traditional setup, student behavior was built on habits. Skill set is based on comprehension and understanding, whereas here skill set was based on training. Assessment is authentic in CTL, whereas here assessment was based on rote memorization. During our times, teachers used to be more authoritative, whereas now teachers assume the role of a facilitator. Now, what are the key benefits of contextualized learning? Now, when we implement CTL, we receive students show more engagement in the learning in the classroom, and they show high levels of motivation. So, when students participate actively in lessons, they are likely to be more interested in the lessons. When they understand the importance of the particular material that they are studying in the classroom, they show more interest. And when students show more interest in a particular session, in a particular subject, they show high level of motivation. As all of us educators know, when students show high level of motivation, they show better results. Now, improved retention and comprehension. When students understand the real life implications of a particular subject, they comprehend more, understand more, and hence they are able to retain the information, the knowledge for a longer duration. Now, studies also show that contextual learning can enhance comprehension and retention by a significant percentage. Development of practical and critical thinking skills. Now, we see how well students are able to apply theoretical knowledge to real world problems, which hones their analytical skills, critical thinking, and their ability to evaluate information from multiple perspectives, which prepares students for challenges beyond the classroom. Seamless transfer of knowledge, as we already discussed. We help students, will teach students to apply theoretical knowledge to real world situations in diverse situations, and hence it improves the transferability of knowledge. These new pedagogies also encourage independent and collaborative learning. It bridges the gap between theory and practice, and also, as we already discussed, authentic assessment. So these are the key benefits of contextualized learning. And I hope students will be, educators will implement these strategies, these methods in the classroom, and will be able to leverage the benefits of these new pedagogies. Now, an educator, a teacher should be able to leverage, should be able to make benefit of student experience and environment while implementing these methods in the classroom. Now, how can a teacher make use of student experience and environment? By integrating local materials and culture. Why local materials and culture? Because they are more relevant to the student experience. Now, incorporate local stories, cultural elements, materials from students' immediate environment into lessons and assessments to make the content more relatable and meaningful. By using, teacher can make use of student experience by using real world examples and case studies. So present students with detailed real world problems, case studies to analyze and solve. which will help them to see how knowledge is organized and applied in various disciplines and professions. Also, by using learning in daily life, perhaps by asking them to budget for a particular event in the college, analyzing news reports from newspapers, etc. Also, student educators should guide students on their reflection exercises, reflect on their learning, how it applies to practical situations. Also, this process will help them build personal meaning from their experiences. This reflection again is important for self-awareness component of emotional intelligence. Now let us see some of the activities, CTL activities that can be carried out for engineering students. I'm sure these are already implemented by many of the faculty members, but let us go through the list again. In the, first and foremost, industry collaboration, field visits, externships, guest lecture series, industry relevant case studies, pitch presentations, business plan competitions, ethical decision making scenarios, technical communication and documentation, perhaps by reading a piece of technical writing in the classroom, reflection assignments, probably implementing, carrying out Johari exercises, MBTI exercises in the classroom. Now, these were some of the activities that can be implemented for engineering students. With this, I conclude my presentation. I hope my respected faculty members found my presentation informative. I thank the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the faculty development program. I also thank all the faculty members for listening. Please let me know of any suggestions, any improvements, any feedback, positive or negative. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.